All right, so I'm Al Philip Neri. So today's topic is opportunities that are a gold mine for real estate entrepreneurs. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at every city in America. We're going to pull out spreadsheets, median prices. We're going to look at where the appreciation rates are, and we're going to figure out where the perfect market is. Got it? Just kidding. That would be absolutely torturous, correct? Because that's not what we're here for, right? To figure out what the opportunities in real estate investing are, or just in general. So who am I? Here's my real estate background. I started in 2004 as an investor. And that wasn't even planned in my life, right? It just happened. 2007, I became licensed. That definitely wasn't planned in my life. And then I learned how to balance being an agent and being an investor. And then shortly after that, I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to speak for all the big boy TV shows on HGTV, Discovery, all those channels. And I toured the country and Canada, unfortunately, for 6 years talking about real estate investing. And that's what I did for 3 days from stage. And then I got tired of traveling, so then it was just getting back to the grind, okay? I am an entrepreneur. I have many businesses. I'm doing my PhD in performance psychology. I coach, so that's just my world, and that's what I want to kind of bring in with you guys, okay? So when it comes to markets, is there a perfect market? Are we in a perfect market? No. What market are we in? Are we in an up market or a down market? We're in an up market. Why are we in an up market? There's a lot of demand. Why is there a lot of demand? Interest rates are low. Anything else? No to low inventory, right? So interest rates are low, no to low inventory, so that creates what for a consumer? Urgency, right? They do some stupid things when they're urgent. Right? Absolutely foolish. How many of your buyers are making emotional decisions versus logical, rational decisions right now? I know mine are making very emotional decisions to be able to compete to get the house, correct? So what is it a good time for in real estate today? If you're a what? If you're a seller, if you're a listing agent, what else? If you do the loans, correct? I'm not sure that you ever lose, but who else? What else? There's two other people that come to mind right away. Builders. So if you're a builder, developer, and there's one more. Yeah, they do good all the time too. You're a psychologist. A flipper. How many of you have fixed and flipped? Okay. Is now a great time, as long as you can get the house at a right price, a great time to put it back on the market and let somebody go nuts over it and overbid it by 30, 40 grand and give you a full appraisal gap, and you're like, this is great. Of course it's great, correct? We just bid $51,000 over asking price to get a fix and flip. But that's okay. When I put it back on the market, someone's going to bid it up another $51,000 so they can buy the house. So the math equals out. Does that make sense? So that's a good market. That's a good market. But how many of you were agents or in the real estate field? I don't have to do the whole hand thing because Elaine already did that. How many of you were in the market in 2008, 2009, that time frame? So like 5 of you. Okay. So the thing is, it's going to come, correct? It's going to come. What goes up must go down. What goes down must go up. Right? We're going to play this game. The question is, when is it coming? And then what is the right strategy? So for those of you that played in that market, what was the right strategy when it was considered a down market? Become an expert at short sales. My longest one took 18 months. My shortest one took 60 days. Right? But yeah, become an expert in short sales if there's such a thing. Because who's controlling that process? The bank. And they're highly efficient. Correct? Okay. So we have a short sale market and a down market. So if you're in the real estate game, you could learn to be a short sale agent. You could learn to market to people in default, blah, 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 blah. And that's how you're going to get your deals. Correct? What else is good in a down market? Buy. And flip? Buy and hold, right? So the guys that bought and hold in 2008 and 2009 and they're selling in 2019, 2020, 2021, are they cashing out big time? They're cashing out big time. So is today the right day to go and buy a rental in Denver? No. Only if you want like a 4% cap rate or something like that. Like, that's nuts. That's nuts. We were buying stuff in the ghettos for 35%, 40%, right? That was the Detroits of the world, certain markets in Ohio, Birmingham, Alabama, Kansas City, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, right? When you were buying houses for, I wouldn't pay $2,000-3,000. I was more reasonable. I would pay $5,000 to $10,000, right? Because it was a little better street, correct? And then you cash flow the daylights out of those things, and you sell them when the time is right. Now, I'll be honest with you, I sold all my stuff too soon. I should have held it now and sold them for $100,000. What a dummy I am. So I won't make that mistake again, correct? Now, how many of you did REO work back in the day? A few of you that raised your hand, right? Now, could you become an REO agent again? Yeah. And they work you like a train, don't they? Oh, yeah. But you get the volume, correct? You don't make a lot of money, but you just get the volume of deals, and you have 1 million signs all over your city that people think you own your city. So if you get where I'm going here, there's no perfect market. The skill set is learning how to play the market and learning how to play the game the way the market is telling you to play the game. Quit going against the grain and play with the grain. That's how this game works. That's how it works. It tells you what to do. So right now, we gave you 5, 6, 7 strategies or whatever it is because it's an up market. And if that changes, that changes. You switch your strategy, and we keep moving on. PowerPoint, please. Okay. How many of you all predicted COVID? None of you? You mean none of you had a crystal ball? Yeah, I didn't have a crystal ball either, right? I've never had a crystal ball. So here's the thing. How many times have you heard people say, we made more money than we've ever made before last year? Have you come across at least one person in your network that said, we have made more money last year than we've ever made before? How many of you have made that? Yes, sir, in the back? Yeah, quite a few of you, right? And then how many of you also, in your circle, you found people to crumble? And they've gotten out of the business. And COVID sucks. And it ruined my business. It did this. It did this. It did this. Correct? And that's what they're doing. So the reality is, what's the difference? What's the difference than the person who made the most money they could make and the person that went out of business? Attitude, perseverance, resiliency, blah, 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 hard work, correct? And for those of you, because there wasn't many of you that raised your hands that were in the game in 2007, 8, and 9, you're going to see it when that market cycles back down again. Whenever that is, if that's next week, 90 days from now, 3 years from now, whenever that is, you're going to see people get out of the business again. They will get out. They will run. They'll be like, I can't make no money in this market. It sucks. That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong, right? This is what I know. We don't control the market. For every article, every webinar, every blog, every podcast, every YouTube video that you watch, read, that says the foreclosure crisis is coming in October of this year, I promise you, you will find one to counteract that says the market is going to stay strong. So who's right? Neither. We don't know. So the only thing we do control is one thing. And that's you, yourself, and I. You control you to succeed in any market. So that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity. Tip number 1 is learn how to play the game and make sure you know how to play the game at the right time and be open to change. That's how you create opportunities in the real estate game, is be willing to adapt and change. Now, how many of you are getting this award in the next 3 days? Are any of you getting the award? So there's, okay, good handful of you, 10 of you, okay? Number 1, congratulations for getting the award. I don't know any of you. I don't know any of you. But here's what I can probably bet, and we're in the town for betting, is I will bet you that you don't wait for the market to thrive. You just thrive no matter what the market is doing. And I don't care what industry you came for before you happen to end up in real estate. Does that make sense? Right? You figured out how to be successful at whatever it is that you took on. Is that a true or false statement, award recipients? True, right? That is absolutely true. So for those of you that weren't award recipients, if that's one of your goals or means something to you, and you're feeling like you're in second place and not in first place, again, I'm going to challenge yourself to look at what you do, what you're doing, and how do you adapt, and how do you thrive. Move on. There is an epidemic in real estate. And I'm not going to talk crap about any brokerage or anything like that, but there are some archaic models out there. And I mean archaic. They call themselves technology companies. They're not even sure what that word means. They say we're ahead of the times. They're not sure what that word means. Correct? You have to learn how to think outside the box. My God, anybody who pigeonholes you in a box, that's not fair to you if you want to be successful, correct? The successful people are uncontrollable. That's why we work for ourselves, because we can't go work for anybody else, because they're silly. If I knew you better, I would say another word. Right? That's why we work for ourselves. So I'm going to tell you a little example about how I got outside the box. So when I first got into real estate, remember, 2004 was when I started investing in real estate. 2007 is when I became licensed. I joined a good buddy of mine. And he was like, hey man, I've got a huge opportunity to make a ton of money, but you got to have a real estate license. Well, I like a ton of money. So what do I have to do to get a real estate license? He was like, well, you just got to go to class and take a couple tests. But the tests are kind of hard. Okay. So I went to class, took a couple tests, passed on the first time. We're good to go. Now where's the money? Right? You promised me a ton of money. And we did. We started making a ton of money. My first month in real estate as an agent, I had 4 closings. Now, how is that possible? I wasn't even licensed. What was that? What did I do? Wholesale? No, these are legitimate, like, buyer transactions. I'm not telling you that wholesale is illegal, right? But you get where I'm going? Like, these were legitimate buyers. I was already showing houses when I was taking that stupid class and studying for the test. Does that make sense? You get where I'm going? And then we were going under contract under his name. I was learning how to succeed at being an agent, correct? So here we are, 4 closings. This is great. Oh my God, it's super cool to be an agent, blah, 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 blah. Then I got a call from a buddy that said he fell in love. So when he falls in love and she falls in love and they each have a separate place, what does that lead to? It only leads to one of 2 things. We're going to try to be landlords, or we're going to sell a place. Fair? They wanted to sell a place. So I said, hey man, I got my first listing appointment. And my buddy looked at me, he said, you can't do that. I said, I can't do what? He said, you can't go on a listing appointment. I was like, what do you mean I can't go on a listing appointment? He's one of my best friends. He wants to sell his condo. And he was like, oh no, man, they're way more legal. I'm like, they're way more legal? And he was like, oh yeah, they're way more legal. You're not experienced enough. I'm like, what? Dude, I had already flipped like 30 homes where I was the seller. Does that make, you get where I'm going? So this guy wanted to put me in a box. He wanted to put me in a box. So the motivation for what I created here with my team was getting outside of the box. So I run a team. I'm out of Denver, by the way. Is anybody here from Denver? No? Okay. That's good, because we don't need another person to move to Denver. Like, it's absolutely crazy. But if you need an agent, I'm here, okay? So here's the thing. I created my team, Team Hybrid. The brochure is going to say I'm at Keller Williams, because that was the 4th time I was at Keller Williams. And now I'm with a company called Real. I'm not here to talk about Real. But here was my mission when I created the team, is I believe that any of you, anybody in real estate can do residential, commercial, luxury, and investment. I believe that you can do any of that. One of my pet peeves is when I hear an agent who's been licensed for 15 years, 20 years, and they say, man, I wish I could learn commercial. What? Learn it. It'll take 5 minutes. What's so special? Do you get where I'm going? Because I already had the investment. Obviously, I already had the residential. I had 2 other businesses. I had an Avis car rental agency, and I had a boxing martial arts gym. So guess what? I already had commercial experience because I already had signed my life away on 2 leases. So now it was, well, who's the first person with $1 million home that trusts me? And now I'm doing luxury, correct? So the way we do our team is if you're new, and my team, I have 13 agents between the ages of 21 and 24. And 97% of them are bilingual. You know where they start in real estate? They don't start as a buyer's agent or a showing assistant or a listing specialist. You know where they start? Wherever their first client wants to start. So if their client wants to buy land and build a home, guess what we're going to do? Teach them how to buy land and build a home. You get where I'm going? We don't put them in a box. We don't put them in a box. We let them thrive, and through normalcy, through just grinding, through social media, through this, their business is going to start to develop, correct? And it's going to start to build. And this concept is no different. If you didn't figure it out, I used to fight in the ring. Look at my nose. It's all screwed up. It's just not flat. It's all crooked, right? And when I fought, I was a stand-up fighter. I was one-dimensional. I boxed, or I did kickboxing and sport karate, which was two-dimensional. But when the world of mixed martial arts came out and the UFC came out, what did they do? They changed the game. All of a sudden, these guys could wrestle. They knew judo. They knew jiu-jitsu. They could go, instead of 2-3 minutes, they could go 5 minutes. Instead of 3 rounds, they could go 5 rounds. Do you get where I'm going? They changed, they evolved the game. So hence, they were considered hybrid athletes, hybrid martial artists. So that's where the name hybrid comes from. So what I challenge you is, how are you going to get outside of the box? What can you do to get outside of the box? And if you're at a brokerage that puts you in a box, shame on you. If you want to get out, you need to leave. There's no secret. Because do you know why people tell you to focus on one thing? No specific brokerage in mind. But do you know why there's a book called One Thing? Do you know why brokerages tell you you have to start out as a showing assistant or a buyer's agent? Why do they tell you that? It's all they know. It's all they know, and it's a way to hold you hostage. Because if you end up being this crazy successful entrepreneurial agent, what are you going to do? You're going to leave. You're going to go start your own company. You're going to get into bigger and better things. Well, is that in their best interest? No. It's not in their best interest, right? So my point, again, is just get yourself out of the box. Now, for those of you that are like, wait, what do you mean? He was like, do residential, but you should be able to learn commercial in 5 minutes. Here you go. Let me teach you commercial in 5 minutes if you're a residential agent. Is there a buyer and a seller? Is there an asset? Is there a contract? Is there a due diligence period in that contract? Is there some sort of loan underwriting, loan termination, loan conditions period in that contract? And is there a closing? Congratulations, you know commercial, and now all you got to do is understand how to run the math. There you go. You're commercially certified. Do you want me to do luxury? Would you like me to do investments? Do you get where I'm going? When you break this down, this is real. I'm looking at my slide, and now I'm looking at me. This is real estate. Does that make sense? That's real estate 101. The only thing that changes is the math and how you can evaluate the deal. That's the only thing that changes. So now I'm on my opportunity number 3. It's understanding the power of relationships. Are there any Chicago Bull fans back in the Jordan days? Yep. They were solid, correct? They were absolutely solid. Why were they so good? Was it because of Michael Jordan? Absolutely. But was he the sole reason? No, he was absolutely the superstar. What was his job to do every night? Score. And do what else? Say that one more time. Lead. Score and lead the team. And he doesn't mean lead in points. He means be a leader. What was Rodman's role? He was a mess, correct? And he still is a mess, correct? But that was his role, was to be a bully, right? Was to dominate on the boards and just be this crazy fool that you didn't want to mess with. That was his role on the team. So when you all look to building teams, you look to who you're going to network with, you look to if you have assistants, TCs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, understand everybody has a role. And if you have the right person in your role, do you understand they make you look like a superstar? One of the secrets I did learn by circling with some of the very, very successful real estate guys in America, like, I mean, these guys are big boys, is they told me there's two things. Number one, there's way more poor people than rich people, so learn how to serve poor people. Number two was your circle makes you successful if you allow your circle to make you successful. So if you think through that, yeah, Jordan had his role, but he allowed all these other guys to do their role, which made him be the absolute superstar. They made him look good, correct? They made him look good. How many of you manage your own files and you do your own TC work and you do your own paperwork and all that stuff like that? Okay, please stop. And you don't have to hire anybody, right? It's understanding. That's one of the simplest things in real estate. My TC gets $300 a closing. It's the best money I could ever spend to never touch a document. So for the few of you that raised your hands, again, start thinking on the power of relationships. Let me take this one step further on the power of relationships. This room is filled with people that paid $49 to get here. Correct? No. Nowhere near $49, correct? Do you think every one of the people in this room is dedicated to being good at their business? Because it wasn't $49, right? If there were $1,049,000 people here, I could say there are some yo-yos in the room. But when people are paying the price to pay to come here, there's no yo-yo in this room. These are people who are serious. So what I challenge you with is there's no magic pill to the game of real estate other than understanding how to play it. But it's also understanding who's sitting next to you, in front of you, and behind you. Quality over quantity. So yeah, this isn't a huge group. I'm not sure exactly how many people are in here, but it's not huge, right? There's not thousands of attendees. But what I would encourage all of you to do in the next 3 days is get to know everybody in this room. Not only referrals, it's masterminds, it's accountability. There's all kinds of things. You want to visit there, we were just talking in the back, and guys from Louisville, Kentucky, he was telling me the ins and outs of the Kentucky Derby. Do you think there's value there? Correct, because I would like to go to the Kentucky Derby one day, correct? We might not talk about real estate, we'll just continue talking about the Kentucky Derby. So the power is in the people. So here's what I want you to understand. The opportunity is you, the magic is you. So it's not the market, it's you. And when you understand that you don't control the market, you only control how you show up to the market, when you understand that the game has changed and it's time to get outside the box, and then when you understand the power of this room and other rooms you're going to attend in your career, you understand that you'll build lifelong relationships. Now, when I was an agent in 2008, 2009, when that market cycle crashed, I don't know about you guys, but it was the relationships I had with the correct partners, the correct lenders, who are still there today, that were able to carry us through those weird couple years. Even on an investment side, now I'm not a developer or a builder, but even on a developer or builder scale, if you're borrowing money, in a down market, do you think it comes down to relationship? Absolutely, right? Because they're going to skew their values of how much they're going to give you, correct? They might have been funding you very lucratively up until the market crashes, and then they get scared. And they'll still fund you, but they're going to adjust those scales of how they fund you. That's all relationship if they trust you, if they think you're sincere, and if they think you're not going to lose their money. So it's understanding all of that are the opportunities of real estate to play this game. It's all about you. So I could have pulled out 1 million spreadsheets and 1 million this and 1 million this and 1 million this, but you know what? If you weren't going to change you, if you weren't going to be open to you, then what good does all that information do? Does nothing, right? Now, one of the things I will tell you that worked very, very well, that might sound very strange, is in the down market, I went to the lower income cities of America. To the areas where people said, you shouldn't buy houses over there. Why? I don't know. You just shouldn't buy houses over there. Do people live in those areas? Are people hardworking in those areas? Do people pay rent on time in those areas? There's my point, right? So if you want any little tidbit trick that I could give you other than what I just shared, it's when the market crashes, look to some of those markets. You will find a gold mine because most people don't want them. Most people don't want those houses in inner city Detroit and St. Louis and Birmingham and blah, 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 blah. But look there, put a good team together, and you'll be just fine because that's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did. Now, that is my contact info. That's my cell phone. That's my email. Snapshot it. Connect with me. And the reason I'm telling you to take down my info is I would love the opportunity to connect with you all. And I'm not going to be here for more than another 30 minutes. I flew in this morning to do this. I got to fly to Atlanta. My son's got a big tournament all week in Atlanta. So I got to go catch a flight to get to Atlanta. I am an award recipient as well. So again, congratulations to the others in the room. So I'm getting mine at 10:30, I hope, on the dot. And then I can hint, my name starts with A. And then I can get to the airport. But I would welcome the opportunity. I'm very sad that I can't stay for the 3 days and network and get to know a lot of you in the room. That's obviously a decision I had to make. So I'm basically begging you to please reach out, share your contact info. We can set up a Zoom, and I'd just love to learn more about each and every one of you and where you guys are going with your business and how we can help one another. Any questions? And I do think me and Elaine had a plan. And our plan was to keep this conference moving way ahead of schedule. Because at some point, someone's going to get up here and they have a 30-minute speech and they're going to take an hour. It happens at every conference, so we're on a good path. Are we good, Mr. Conference people? Yes, sir. Do you have a question?
Yeah. How involved are you in commercial transactions? You talk a lot about residential.
How long have I been doing commercial?
Yeah, just
As an official agent? About 12, 13 years.
That's been transactionally, is that a big piece of your business?
Oh, I got you. What percentage?
Yeah.
It's not a huge percentage of our business. I would say probably, like just me personally, I would probably say if I take my real estate investing out of it and just in a role as an agent, it would be 75% residential, 25% commercial. You know, some of the luck I've had with commercial is I do represent some of the larger Spanish-speaking, authentic Mexican seafood restaurants in Denver. And you know the beautiful thing is they start with one and they end up with like 30. And I'm their go-to guy, right? So, you know, and then now they're franchising out and things of that nature. So it's a great story in themselves of what they've accomplished. But those are some of my larger commercial clients is in the restaurant and a lot in the bar space too. Yes, sir. I take it, are you a commercial agent or are you?
Commercial real estate inspector.
Yeah, what city are you from? What city are you from? Okay, we'll stay out of Raleigh. Just kidding. No. So you work for the city?
No.
Or you're independent?
Yeah, I'm a private firm.
Oh, got it.
I work for buyers.
Got it. Yeah. Cool. I'm just playing. Yes, sir.
Enjoyed your talk this morning. You got up on screen performance coaching. You talked about real estate
Great question. So I am doing my PhD in performance psychology. I do run a performance coaching business geared towards entrepreneurs and athletes. And I do a lot of speaking with the brand Mr. Undefeated. That is growing and growing and growing. So I don't have it divvied up in the sense of how you want me to answer the question of like every Monday from 9 to 11 I focus on like performance coaching, right? I know what I got to get done on a weekly basis. I know what I got to get done on a daily basis, and I just figure out how to get it done. My first book was called A Formula for a Balanced Life, and the motivation for writing that is people would say, how in the world do you do everything that you do? And I was like, well, I just kind of do it. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking. I don't spend a ton of time like really thinking things through. I just know I got to get it done. So for example, like some of the kids I coach, they were like, how's your PhD going, coach? I'm like, it's kind of hard. And they were like, did you think it was going to be easy? I'm like, I didn't really think. I just enrolled. Do you get where I'm going? So yeah, I mean, there's a fine line to the balance, but what I tell everybody is the biggest thing is I'm very efficient with my time. So I don't scroll Facebook, if that makes sense. Once in a while. Does that make sense? I don't even post on Facebook. I hire a guy to do all my postings for me for all the different businesses, even like, I know this is going to sound sad, but like happy anniversary, Mother's Day, Father's Day, like, yeah. Remember that team thing? I got a guy that absolutely gets my back on the posting stuff, right? So even my wife will be like, did you write that or did he write that? I'm like, oh, I gave him all the ideas. He just had to craft it up and clean it up. So no, I'm very, very efficient with my time. I'm absolutely spread in many, many different directions. I don't want to use the word I'm spread thin, but I am spread in many different directions because I've got a master plan of where I'm trying to go with all this. So, any other question? I am on social media. The easiest way on Facebook is Al Philip Neri. I'm the only Al Philip Neri on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Coach Al Philip Neri. And then from there, don't worry, we'll get you connected to all the other pages.
Well, you already said you wouldn't be the one responding.
I will not. Oh, you're talking about like if you DM me?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no. There's a 50% chance that'll be me. Right. Yeah, there'll be a 50% chance. No, it took me a long time to find the guy that handles all this for me because I am all over the place, and he had to be all over the place with me and then really figure out how to conceptually get it done. So, yeah, I went through a lot of people to find the right guy. So, no, he's good. He's really good at what he does. Yeah, by the way, yeah, I should give him a plug. If you need a guy for social media, I got a guy. And he's good. He's very reasonably priced also. Yep. And he doesn't have a big team. It's just him. So, any other questions?
Can you share one of the biggest mistakes?
Oh, my God. Great question. I've had many. Detroit, Michigan. I bought a building that was in the historic district. It was an old maternity hospital in like 1890 or something like that. So my realtor sends me, the pictures, and they were like, this is, a good building. And I mean, I bought this thing, and it was a good-sized building. I bought it for like $50,000. And they were like, you know what? You can convert these into condos, and then we can sell each condo off. Perfect. The building was missing a back wall. That wasn't a big deal, right? Because we knew about that. So at that time, I had done, in the single-family game in Detroit, I had flipped around 50-ish houses. I don't know the exact number, with the same main contractor. We had a good relationship. We never argued about money. We never argued about anything. He knew what to do. He knew what I wanted. He always got paid on time. We had a very good model going. Very good model going. Well, this project intimidated him. So what he did is he brought in his brother-in-law, who I was unaware he was bringing his brother-in-law into the project. And I had only met his brother-in-law once, and you know when you meet somebody once and they give you the EBGBs? Yeah, this guy had given me the EBGBs. So we had never talked about his brother-in-law ever again because I didn't care to talk about him. I just got a very bad vibe about his brother-in-law. Well, long story short, they had been doing draws. Everybody understand what I'm talking about? Okay, they've been asking for money. Well, I had a high level of trust, so I did not send an independent inspector out to protect my wire for the construction. I went on trust. I went on trust that they had done their work, they were owed the money. Well, all of a sudden, I get something from him called a change order. Everybody know what a change order is? So a change order is we need a lot more money. It wasn't $1 more. It was like another $100,000. I'm like, what? So I call him up and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, well, you know, like we just ran into so many unforeseens, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, where have the unforeseens been all along the way? You just woke up today and realized you had unforeseens? We've been working on this for like 4 months. So the conversation didn't go well. Next thing is, his attorney sends me a letter that basically says they have terminated the relationship, blah, 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 and they are owed X number of dollars. So, of course, I have to get an attorney now, right? Because we already went there. So I get an attorney, and I'm like, we need to resolve this. This is stupid. Like, let's just resolve this. Well, now all of a sudden, I start getting sued by all the subs because the subs are owed money. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like the roofer. We'll go with the roofer. What do you mean you weren't paid? I sent them the money to pay you. Right? Roofer's like, I didn't get a dime. So now here I am going back and forth to Detroit, not for pleasure, not to look at more houses, but I'm going back and forth for depositions, right? Depositions, where there's a court recorder and all that. Depositions. And I'm like, this is nuts. So I obviously have to pay all these guys, right? Because I need them off my back. I need liens removed from this building, blah, 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 blah. This drug out for 2.5 years. I won. Let me tell you how well I won. I didn't win. I won on paper. But that didn't mean anything. Does that make sense? Now I had this dilapidated, half-constructed project. And for those of you that are, in construction management, have you ever received a phone call where you're like, hey man, so this one contractor started, and I was just wondering if you'll come and take a look at this project? They're like, no. And then when you finally get the one guy that will come, he just sees cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Because he knows he's the only guy in the city that will take over a broken project. Does that make sense? So he's like, oh yeah, Al, we'll get this cleaned up for you, but it's going to cost you. Well, at that point, I've already lost. Let's just get this stupid thing done and sold, and we write off our losses, and we move on. And that's basically what it boiled down to. So that was a lot of sleepless nights. That was a lot of court depositions. It was a lot of attorney fees. And but you had to get through it, right? You just had to, I had to finish it. What was I going to do? I can't quit. I own the building. So we quit. We didn't quit. Yeah, that was like that Freudian slip, right? It was a million times I want to quit. We ended up finishing it. We sold them. It was what it was. It was a negative in the balance sheet, and it was a hard lesson learned. And that was probably the hardest lesson I've learned in my real estate career. So I won't make that mistake again, ever. Ever. I still trust people, right? I still trust people, but I won't make those same logistical mistakes ever again. So, call the inspector. Yeah, it's well worth the draw inspection to go out, verify Obviously, you learned a lot more about lien releases, lien waivers, right? Those kind of things. Yeah. Things you don't always think about. Yep. Because nobody tells you. You're just figuring it out. But great question. Anything else? I'm sure. Is my time up? It's what, sir? 10. Oh, yeah, 10:30. Okay. Come on, award people. So, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to connecting with whoever would like to still connect, and I wish you guys the most successful 3 days and safe travels home. Thank you very much.